Okay, it's good to have all of you back. I hope you had a good weekend. As I said on Friday, we're going to be working on modal verbs, and this is something a little new for us, but it's going to be fun. We've got some games and activities to do. The modal verbs we're going to be working on, which I have up on the board, are can, could, may, might, must, ought to, would, and should. And we're going to learn how to use these modal verbs. In our ESL games book that we have, we've come up with pulled a game out of there. It's kind of fun, and I'll give you an example. Each of you are going to get a 3x5 card that has an image on it. And I'm going to use this one for myself. So here's this image of a egg thing. And what you're going to do is you're going to walk around the room to other people and say, what would you say if I gave you this gift? And they need to use one of the modal verbs. So for example, if someone gave me this, I would say, I might use it to make perfect sunny side up eggs, or I could give it away as a white elephant gift. But I need you to write down what they say. Since there's 22 of you in here, you're going to have 21 responses to the images, and there's quite a few images. There's a really tacky Christmas sweater with a moose pooping. There's let's see, what's another one here? Whoopee cushions. You know what those are? Yeah, you sit on them and they go. Yeah, okay, good. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about these and take it a step further. Okay, before we watch our video, we're going to watch a video on modal verbs. It's about 15 minutes long, and it gives you tons of examples. So if you still don't quite get how to use them, although most of you did pretty good, this video is from the Oxford Education. It's going to help you quite a bit. I want to talk a little bit more about the usage of modal verbs. It represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. Permission, so can I go to the store? Can, could, and may. May I go to the store? Could I go to the store? As permission. Prohibition can be used in the opposite way. You can't go to the store. You may not go to the store. You see, using the opposite. Advice. Should, ought to, had better. You should make your bed. It's sort of advice. Obligation. So you need to do something, like you must be on time. It's a much stronger term. You must, and you should, and you must. But must is a stronger word than should. And then a no obligation one, like I may go to the movies, I may not. That's how these are all being used, and I just wanted you to be familiar with that before we watch this movie. So now you've seen how these modal verbs are used in many, many situations. You should have a pretty good understanding of this. So I want you to get onto your computers to the Khan Academy, and I have it set up for a quiz on modal verbs. And I want you to individually do this quiz. You will be graded on this, so there's not going to be any talking or sharing on this. And then we'll take it from there. In America, quite a few years ago, I think back in the 70s and 80s, there was a newspaper writer. They called her Dear Abby, and people would send in letters asking for advice. They have problems with their family or with their husband or with relationships or boyfriend, and she would respond, and people loved reading her responses. So I am going to put up on the smartboard a letter to Dear Abby asking for advice, except that I want you to be Dear Abby. I want you to respond. I want you to go onto your Google Docs, and I want you to say, dear whoever. A lot of times they'd say, dear sad girlfriend, or however you want to put it. Be creative, and then give advice. But when you give the advice, I want you to use at least 5 of the modal verbs. So may, should, can, might, ought to, have some. I want some of them that are strong ones, and some of them that the rest don't have to be. Don't have to all be strong. And you're going to do that on Google Docs, and then you're going to turn that into me. You're going to share it with me so that I can grade it, and that will show me how well you now understand the modal verbs. Okay, so you've had a lot of experience with the modal verbs. I can see that everybody pretty much gets it. Your homework for tonight is going to be taking the ones that I gave you, the can, could, may, might, must, ought to, would, and should. And I've got them listed on a piece of paper to remind you to take home. And I want you to go on to Google Docs, and you need to make 2 sentences for each of those. And I expect them to be available to me by tomorrow morning so that I can look at them before we get started in class. And this is going to be your homework assignment. And then tomorrow when you come in, we will have a quiz on these. And then we're going to learn about some more complicated ones. So I will see you then.